you ever had one of those brilliant ideas, maybe for a new app or sorting out the community garden or even just finally tackling that chaos in the garage? And then you hit that wall, that bit where you think, okay, this is great, but how do I actually do this?
Yeah, that what next feeling.
Exactly. Or maybe you've been part of some big initiative, something important that just kind of lost its way, veered off track.
It happens all the time, despite the best intentions.
Well, if any of that sounds familiar, you're definitely not alone. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something fundamental but maybe a bit misunderstood. It's the skill that turns those ideas into actual results. Project management.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is just how universal these ideas are. I mean, we're talking core principles that you needed to build the pyramids.
Right.
And they're just as vital today for launching, I don't know, a new tech product or even coordinating a global response to something. It's genuinely timeless. It's way more than just charts and spreadsheets.
Absolutely. And for this deep dive, we've got some great sources. We're digging into Essential Project Management by Peter Hobbs, that DK book, plus some really useful briefing docs and study guides. Gives us a pretty rounded view.
It's a solid foundation.
So our mission for you today is basically this. Cut through the jargon, pull out the absolute must-knows, and give you the tools, the common sense, really, to tackle any big initiative with more confidence. Work, home, maybe bigger stuff.
You'll probably find some surprising things, some really powerful ways of thinking about getting things done.
Okay, let's unpack this then, because project management, it's not just nice to have, is it? It seems like it's valued incredibly highly today.
Oh, it really is.
Yeah.
Project management is essentially the engine for change. It's how people, companies, even whole countries adapt, how they grab new opportunities or deal with threats.
So it's about staying competitive, finding better ways.
Exactly. In a world that's always looking for the next thing, the better way, you should always be asking, okay, where's the project in what I'm doing right now?
So whether it's the garage, the app, or something massive, what actually turns a bunch of tasks into a proper project? What's the dividing line?
That's a really good question. Because it's not just any old task list. A project, at its core, is, the book defines it as a piece of work designed to bring about an agreed beneficial change within a fixed time frame using specified resources.
Okay, so beneficial change, fixed time frame, specified resources, those are key.
Definitely. And it usually needs coordinated activity of number of people. And importantly, there's often an element of risk involved.
Right, risk. Things might not go to plan.
Precisely. Think about, founding a country, launching a satellite, or even just building a deck. They all share these essential bits. You need a vision, you need planning, and you need coordinated effort.
Vision, planning, coordinated effort. That sounds like the magic formula.
That's the bedrock, yeah.
So a project isn't just ongoing work like running a department day to day. It has boundaries, a start and an end.
Exactly right. It's got a one-off scope. And that scope is usually defined by three critical parameters: time, cost, and quality.
Ah, the famous triple constraint, or the project management triangle, right?
That's the one. Time, cost, quality. And here's the crucial insight. For almost any project, one of those is usually fixed. It's the main priority. And that decision really dictates how flexible you can be with the other two.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Can you give us an example? How does fixing one constraint impact the others? And maybe where do people often get tripped up?
Sure. Let's take quality. So you're developing a new drug. The quality, safety, effectiveness that's absolutely fixed. Non-negotiable.
Right, has to be.
So if the research or testing turns out to be way more complex than you first thought, well, your costs are probably going to go up, or your deadline might have to slip. You sacrifice time or money to absolutely guarantee that quality.
Makes sense.
Or flip it. Say the deadline is fixed, you have to launch by a certain date, maybe it's for a big event like the Olympics, or just a critical tender submission.
Okay.
Then you might have to throw more money, more people, more resources at it to hit that date. That increases the cost. Or you might have to cut back on some features, maybe some nice-to-haves, which could impact the final quality or scope.
So it's always a trade-off.
It's always a trade-off. And the real art, the skill, lies in knowing which constraint is truly fixed for your project and then managing those trade-offs smartly. A lot of projects get into trouble because they try to pretend they can fix all three.
Without making the tough choices.
Exactly. You have to acknowledge the tension between them.
That really brings it home why this is so vital now. It's not just about being tidy. It's about making strategic choices to adapt and, survive.
Absolutely. It lets individuals, organizations, nations even, change and adapt, grab opportunities, counter threats. And, this isn't just theory. There's a statistic. Something like 97% of organizations believe project management is critical for good performance and success.
Wow, 97%. That's huge.
It is. But the real insight isn't just that it's important. It's that this disciplined approach helps companies. Well, it helps them fail faster.
Fail faster. That sounds counterintuitive.
But it's about learning faster.
Yeah.
You try something, it doesn't quite work. The project structure helps you see why quickly, learn from it, and pivot. That structured learning cycle, that's the real competitive edge today. It lets your vision, your idea of what can be, actually become more powerful than what currently is.
That's a really powerful way to think about it. Okay, so we've got a handle on what a project is. Now, what about the journey? It's not just chaos, presumably. There's a life cycle, a path it follows. The sources talk about a foundational model, the waterfall approach.
Yeah, waterfall is kind of the classic. It's a linear, step-by-step way of looking at it. Each phase generally finishes before the next one kicks off. It helps to understand the basic flow.
Okay, so what are those basic steps?
Right. It starts with initiation. That's basically identifying the problem or the opportunity, getting the initial green light, the mandate.
Step 1, know why you're doing it.
Exactly. Then comes definition. Here, you're really sharpening your understanding.
Yeah.
What exactly do we want to achieve? By when? With what resources? This is super important. Really exploring the what's and whys here saves pain later.
Got it. Define the goal clearly.
Then planning. This is the nitty-gritty. How in detail are we going to do it? Timescales, who does what, resources, how we'll communicate, schedules, budgets that get locked down here.
The roadmap.
Precisely. Next is control. This is the doing phase. You're executing the plan, but also constantly monitoring progress, checking if you're on track, and crucially, adjusting the plan if needed.
Doing, monitoring, adjusting.
And implementation. This is where you hand over whatever you've created to the people who will actually use it, and helping them adjust to it, managing that change. You want them to react positively.
The handover and making sure it sticks.
Yep. And finally, review. Looking back, how did we do? What could we have done differently or better? Capturing those lessons learned for next time.
Initiation, definition, planning, control, implementation, review. Okay, sounds neat, very step-by-step. But reality check. Is it always that clean cut? Do projects really follow that path perfectly?
Rarely.
Yeah.
Good point. In theory, yes. In practice, not so much. Those phases, especially definition, planning, control, they often overlap. You need continuous review. You might learn something during planning that makes you rethink the definition.
Or during the doing phase, the control phase.
Exactly. You might hit a snag, find something new, and realize the original scope needs tweaking. It's more dynamic. And that actually leads to another key concept the sources mention, an alternative approach called agile.
Agile. Yes, you hear that word everywhere, especially in tech. How is it fundamentally different from waterfall? What's it best for?
So waterfall is linear, like a cascade down steps. Agile is more cyclical, iterative. Instead of one big, long project plan, you break the work down into smaller chunks, usually called sprints.
Sprints, like short races.
Kind of. They're short, focused bursts of work, maybe a few weeks each. And within each sprint, you basically run through a mini project cycle. Plan, design, build, test, for just that small piece of the overall project.
Okay, so you're delivering working bits more frequently.
Exactly. And that gives you much greater adaptability. It's really good when the end goal isn't perfectly clear from the start, or you expect things to change a lot, like developing new software where you need user feedback constantly.
Sounds flexible. Any downsides?
Well, it definitely requires a committed, experienced, and disciplined team. Because it's so fluid, it needs strong communication and self-organization. Without that discipline, agile can just become chaos.
So it's about choosing the right tool for the job. Waterfall for predictability, agile for adaptability.
That's a good way to put it. Understanding both lets you pick the approach that best fits the project's specific challenges. You don't want to force, a square peg into a round hole.
Right. Okay, so we've covered the what of a project and the how of its flow. But projects aren't just about processes, are they? They're run by people, deliver by people. How does that human element fit in? That seems crucial.
Oh, absolutely crucial, maybe the most crucial. And the first thing is role clarity. The sources emphasize this. Role clarity is essential because unlike a regular department where everyone knows their job, project teams often get pulled together from different places for one specific goal.
So everyone needs to know exactly what they're supposed to do and what others are doing.
Yes, avoids confusion, stops people stepping on each other's toes, prevents things falling through the cracks.
And the sources mention some key roles beyond just the person managing it all. Who are the main players we need to understand?
Definitely. You've got the sponsor, usually the most senior person involved. They own and control the resources, the money, the people. And crucially, they're the final arbiter of success. They decide if the project ultimately delivered what it was supposed to.
The big boss, essentially. Sounds like a critical relationship for the project manager.
Absolutely vital. Then you have the project manager themselves. They've got the day-to-day responsibility for making it happen, for executing the plan. They need to be totally aligned with the sponsor.
Okay. Who else?
There's the client, or sometimes called the senior user. They represent the people who will actually use the end product or service. Their needs and interests are paramount.
Makes sense. The customer voice.
Then you often have technical specialists, people with deep expertise, maybe special access or decision-making power in a specific area. They might even be more senior in the organization than the project manager, which can be interesting dynamic.
Navigating those relationships sounds key.
It is. And finally, the end users,
Yes.
the people who ultimately benefit. Getting their buy-in and positive reaction during implementation is critical. Understanding how all these roles interact, their potential conflicts or collaborations, that's a huge part of managing the project successfully.
So let's focus on the project manager for a second. The sources describe them in quite a fascinating way, almost a paradox.
They do, yeah. It's described as needing this paradoxical combination. On one hand, sort of larger than life, self-confident, decisive, creative, engaging, the leader type.
Inspiring confidence.
Exactly. But on the other hand, also self-effacing, down to earth, hands-on, and keen to learn. Not afraid to get stuck and listen, admit they don't know everything.
Wow, that's a tricky balance.
It really is. You absolutely have to be convinced of the value of the project yourself, or you'll never inspire anyone else, especially when you hit bumps in the road.
So passion and belief are non-negotiable.
Totally. You need to communicate that enthusiasm, stand up to opposition sometimes. But just as importantly, you need to be a good listener. Your job is often to weld these diverse individuals, these specialists, into a cohesive, strong team. And that takes personal determination, creativity, and powers of persuasion.
It sounds like leadership is the core skill, maybe even more than deep technical knowledge of the subject matter.
Often, yes. Your main job is decision-making, planning, and leadership, not necessarily being the top technical expert on everything.
That's really insightful. It underscores that project management is fundamentally about people and relationships. And you mentioned that relationship with the sponsor is paramount, like the absolute foundation.
It really is. The sources say effective sponsorship is one of the key determinants of your success.
Yeah.
That relationship, it's the foundation upon which the whole project is built. If that's rocky, the whole thing is at risk.
Why is it so critical? What breaks down if it's not right?
Well, both the sponsor and the manager need the exact same understanding of what constitutes success. If you're aiming for different targets, you're in trouble. And you need that relationship of trust so you can be open about problems. If the manager feels they have to hide bad news, disaster awaits.
Okay, so for you listening, if you're managing a project, how do you build that strong relationship with your sponsor? What are some practical do's and don'ts?
Good question. That very first meeting is crucial. Use it to set expectations clearly. Establish communication channels and escalation procedures. How will you keep them informed? What do they need to know versus what's just noise? How will you handle bad news when it inevitably arrives?
So agree the rules of engagement up front.
Yes. Be crystal clear on your role, what you expect from them. Maybe use some what-if scenarios to talk through how you'll handle problems together. Find out their preferred communication style emails, quick calls, formal reports.
Tailor your approach.
Absolutely. Build rapport, get to know them a bit. And the absolute golden rule, never try to hide things that have gone wrong from your sponsor, even if it means admitting a mistake. Honesty builds trust. Hiding things destroys it.
And what are the red flags? Signs that the sponsorship isn't working.
Warning signs might be things like constantly canceled meetings, a sponsor who deflects blame when things go wrong, or maybe one who gets too involved in tiny details, micromanaging. Any of those can really undermine the project.
Transparency, trust, clear communication. Got it. It sounds like managing that relationship takes real effort, maybe as much as managing the tasks themselves. Okay, shifting gears slightly beyond the people, there's the paperwork. Or, more likely now, the digital trail. Documentation. Why is that important? Isn't it just bureaucracy?
It can feel like it sometimes, but good documentation is incredibly helpful. Having standard documents and agreed circulation and sign-off procedures actually makes teams more efficient. It clarifies things, improves communication, especially between the sponsor and the manager. It provides a record.
And software helps here, presumably?
Massively. Project management software lets you organize your data and present it attractively. Looks more professional, sure, but also makes tracking easier, allows for digital sign-offs, keeps everything in one place.
But with all that data, security must be a big concern.
Huge. You absolutely have to protect data. Regular backups are essential, obviously, but also making sure the whole team understands the risks. Phishing, weak passwords, accidentally sharing things. Data breaches can be incredibly expensive, not just in money, but in lost trust and reputation. It's not something to skimp on.
Okay. So, without getting bogged down in a massive list, what are the absolute key documents someone should have throughout a project, the kind of backbone documents?
Right. Let's think phase by phase. Early on in initiation, you need something like a mandate or a brief, just capturing why we're doing this, the initial idea.
A starting gun.
Exactly. Then in definition, you get more formal. The project initiation document, or PID, is often key, lays out objectives, scope, roles, risks. You'll definitely need a business case justifying the project and, crucially, a risk log to track potential problems.
Planning ahead for trouble.
Then in planning, it's the detailed stuff. Schedule, resource plans, a quality plan setting out the standards.
The blueprints.
During control, it's all about tracking. So records of changes to scope, reports from milestone reviews, maybe quality reviews, keeping tabs on progress and deviations.
Keeping it on track.
For implementation, you'll need things like user acceptance test, UAT, reports proof the users are happy, and the final implementation schedule.
Proving it works and rolling it out.
And finally, in the review phase, the post-implementation review. That document captures all the lessons learned, what went well, what didn't, for next time. It's not just paperwork, it's the project's memory. It's how you get better.
That makes sense. It's the learning loop.
Which actually raises a really important question. How does all this theory, these documents, these phases, how does it translate into actual, real-world success? Big, inspiring stuff.
Yeah, let's make this concrete. To bring it all to life, the sources highlight a fantastic example, the Eden Project in Cornwall.
Ah, yes, a brilliant case study. It started back in January '95. Sir Tim Smith had this vision. Create this amazing science-based visitor attraction, showcase 100,000 plants in an old, disused clay pit. A pretty bleak starting point.
An incredibly bold vision.
Yep.
And technically challenging, right? Building the world's largest greenhouses, those giant transparent domes, the biomes, and a hole in the ground, sounds like a project manager's nightmare or dream, maybe.
Definitely a challenge. They sketched out initial plans, these giant bubble structures, around October of '96, and they hit a major hurdle almost immediately. Construction started October '98, and bang, heavy rains flooded the pit.
Oh, wow. That could have killed it right there.
It absolutely could have. But this is where good project management, that control phase, kicks in. They didn't panic. They assessed the risk, the reality, and they adapted. They designed and built a special drainage system. Now, that probably impacted their initial cost or schedule estimates.
The triple constraint trade-off again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it protected the core vision, the quality, the viability of the whole thing. And overcoming that challenge likely helped them secure crucial funding, that 50% public match funding in March 2000. Allowed them to complete the main build.
So facing a major risk, adapting the plan, securing resources, textbook project management, but under huge pressure. And the result.
Phenomenal. Main construction finished. Project opened March 2001. Huge success. By July 2008, they'd had their 10 millionth visitor. Then, July 2017, they launched Eden Project International Planning Projects overseas. And Eden Project North, up in Morecambe, is due to open in 2024.
That's incredible growth and impact from one project in an old quarry. What are the success metrics now? It's more than just visitors, isn't it?
Oh, hugely. Over 22 million visitors now. It's brought hundreds of millions of pounds into the local economy, which was much needed in Cornwall. But beyond the numbers, it's become this major voice in the global debate on sustainable development, way beyond just being a tourist attraction.
It's a fantastic story, and it really does seem to embody that vision, planning, and coordinated effort we talked about right at the start. The sources say technology made it possible, but Smith's vision, inspirational leadership, and refusal to compromise on quality were undoubtedly central.
It's a powerful example, isn't it?
Yeah.
It shows that even with incredibly complex technical stuff, It's the human factors, the clear vision, the strong leadership, navigating those constraints strategically, that absolute commitment to quality that really drive massive success. It wasn't just what they built, but how they managed the building of it.
Okay, so let's wrap this up and bring it back to you, our listener. We've really unpacked project management today. We've looked at how a project is defined by that one-off scope, that tension between time, cost, and quality.
The triple constraint.
We'll walk through the project lifecycle, the steps of waterfall, the cycles of agile, and crucially, thinking about when to use which approach.
Choosing the right methodology.
We've highlighted the vital roles people play, especially that critical relationship between the project manager and the sponsor, that foundation of trust.
People first.
And we've seen the importance of good documentation, not as bureaucracy, but as a tool for efficiency and learning, all brought to life by the amazing Eden Project example.
So hopefully these insights give you a really solid framework, a way to think about tackling any challenge, big or small, with a bit more structure and confidence. Remember, project management success, it's not just ticking off tasks. It's about your ability to build trust, ignite enthusiasm, and lead different kinds of people to commit to a vision that doesn't even exist yet.
So here's our final thought for you to mull over. Think about your own life work, home, personal goals. What's one small thing, one initiative that you could start treating like a project starting today? Apply just one principle we talked about, maybe clarifying the why, defining success, or thinking about the key people involved. Give it a try. What might surprise you about the results? Go make that vision a reality.